You're listening to a main feed episode. Go to patreon.com/Celtic Ligers where €5 a month gets you weekly full-length episodes, stray bonus content and access to the back catalogue. Also helps cover hosting and gives us money for sweeties. Thank you. Celtic Ligers.
Recorded 21st of January 2024.
There's a joke from David O'Doherty where he was like, when I grew up in Ireland, parsley was considered a spice.
Yeah.
He was like, get that away from me. A foreigner's made that. Because that's his politics. That's what he believes.
Yeah.
But no, there is, it's so easy to forget that there are like, I was like thinking about this the last day. I was thinking about this in relation to Roscray, funnily enough, which is something we wanted to talk about, which I was like, these people, I was like, my grandfather probably lived and died without ever having eaten an avocado. Okay.
Yeah.
And there's all these things where it's like, just how narrow and boring Ireland used to be, and how these people insist that Ireland needs to be that boring and awful again. You know? We need to go back. We can't have anything here that is good. It all has to be as miserable as I enjoyed it. You know, it's basically Stockholm syndrome. It's just the thing that you grew up with is good because, I don't know, you were younger and you remember it. So we now need to maintain it.
Do you remember when avocados were called avocado pears?
I actually do not remember that. Is that a thing in Ireland?
Growing up, I always knew it as an avocado pear.
That's funny.
Not that I had too many of them.
I'm just thinking about some guy trying to pitch avocados to Ireland, where he's just trying to think of something that you're familiar with, a pear, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like that, but it doesn't look like. But like, trust me, do you like pears? Yeah. They're like, well, you might like this. Okay.
Yeah. I guess it was like they were like, he couldn't call it a vegetable because if he did that, then Irish people would just boil the guts out of it. You know what I mean? So he's like, no, it's like a pear. You can't boil it. You just have to eat it raw.
There was another one as well. My auntie was talking about how in the 1970s, like coleslaw was like a recent introduction to Ireland. My dad also said that he never drank like a latte or a coffee until he was about 21 or 22. He was like, what the fuck is this? He is 68, I think.
So that would have been like 1975.
Like, something like that. That makes sense to me. He's 60. He's born in 1956.
So in 1977.
Yeah, that makes sense.
To me, that even seems early to be drinking a cappuccino.
Well, I don't know if it was a cappuccino. I think it was literally like an Americano or like a cup of coffee, essentially.
Oh.
Actually, maybe that's too bad. I mean, they've had coffee forever.
No, in Ireland, my mum and my granny used to talk about how coffee, like, now you have coffee, and then before that you had coffee, instant coffee.
What happened with coffee? Did I miss a fucking meeting with the coffee? Huh? You can get every other flavor except coffee flavored coffee. www.whatthefuck.com.
And before that, you had like a little liquid.
A liquid?
It came in like a bottle, and you poured a bit into a glass or a cup, and then you poured hot water in on top.
Okay.
Like, that was the state of things.
Yeah.
So maybe he didn't have a coffee until he was 21.
Maybe. But also there's like no interest. There's no appetite in Ireland at that moment for having anything like that either. Like, he didn't have it in Ireland. He had it in Italy.
Yeah,
so he was what the fuck is this? This is insane.
For me, my version of that was the panini. And I think that's a lot of people's.
Yeah, probably. Of our age, yeah.
Of our age.
Yeah.
I wonder what it is for people younger than us.
Yeah, probably
the grimace.
bubble tea.
Yeah.
That was way too earnest an answer. I should have thought of something funnier.
No.
You thought of something funnier. You had it dead to rights.
I'm not sure. No, I think the bubble tea one is a good answer.
All right, what was the thing that I had where I was like, "Whoa, we're entering a new realm now." Okay, I think it was. Oh, do you know what it was? It was Oh, come. Oh yeah, yes, good. Yeah. Meatball marinara.
Yes, that was a big one. Yeah, I remember my sister like excitedly telling me about meatball marinara Subway.
Yeah. Well, sub was such a thing. I like the idea of like, it's hard to even contextualize it now because the idea of like, oh, it's like a sandwich, but it's long. But it's like, no, but it's American. They got like soft bread. You don't understand. And they got meatballs in it, and it's New York City or Boston or whatever. You know, it felt really American. But for some reason, like, but then when you look at it now, it's like, this is pretty measly now.
I think what excited me about the sub was that I remember seeing in films, it'd be like two people sitting in a car and one would be like, I got you a sub. And it'd be like wrapped in tinfoil.
Yeah.
And I never could see what it was. You know what I mean?
Right,
so when someone was talking about Subway, I was like, part of it was like, now I finally get to know what it is in it, you know?
That was in Friends. I remember that was where I first saw meatball sub. Because Joey leaned. Remember when there was something that sounded like a gunshot, and then funnily enough, Michael Rappaport in that episode as well. Michael Rappaport, big massive Zionist now.
Yeah, doesn't he write for the Israeli Saturday Night Live show?
He appeared on it as Dumbledore in a very unfunny sketch that I have. I didn't watch it, but I have heard it several times now as podcasters I listen to ironically watch it.
Okay.
So, and it's like, can't you tell me, Professor McGonagall, that genocide is bad? What's the freaking problem? You know? And they think that genocide is happening to the Israelis, obviously. And then they have that awful woman who, you know, can't do any voices going, well, the thing that is the problem, you know, and it's like, oh, God, I hate this.
Yeah.
What the hell is wrong with you, Professor McGonagall? Aren't you supposed to be one of the good guys in this story? You're telling me that calling for genocide is dependent on the context?
Oh, yes. Context. It's a new spell that makes everything that's wrong right.
What a frickin' witch. Okay, moving.
Why does McGonagall not say genocide is...
It's something to do with Harvard, because somebody in Harvard, like, said something that it's meant to be going after the blue-haired intellectuals in college who are trying to explain away everything, people being killed for money. Okay. Because apparently it's useful for them. They get funding for denying what's happening to the Israelis and pretending that you know,
the Holocaust happened or whatever.
I don't know, whatever. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But like the point is, at the end of the sketch, Dumbledore discovers how much money they're being paid by bad faith actors to spout the bullshit against Israel, and he decides he's going to join in and get some of that money. And I was like, who the fuck do you think is paying anybody? Like, where's that money coming from exactly? Like, they have such a captured media. If anything, like, and also, how is that not like, you know, like if you said that about Jewish people or the Israeli lobby, that would be seen as anti-Semitic, that they're being paid these talking points to say these things by some nefarious body. But anyway, whatever. What's the point? What's the point of pointing out hypocrisy with the Israelis? It's like, it's kind of really, you know, you're just fighting a losing battle.
Yeah, but I think they also know that they're being hypocritical in some ways, you know?
Yeah.
They just Jewishly ignore it.
Do I bleep that? Do I bleep that?
Now you're going to tell me that's anti-Semitic as well. I told you about the American... No, I did. It was not even a very good story. So we have a new format for the show.
We were thinking about it. We'll try it out, see how it goes.
It's called...
I didn't think we were going to draw attention to it.
Yeah,
but
we
it's
are.
one of a long list of things that we steal from your Kickstarter.
Yeah, it's
socks.
called YKS 6-pack. 6-pack.
Yeah, it's called the
socks.
KYS 6-pack. Okay.
Yeah. And it takes the format. And do you have a Joe 6-pack?
No, I thought that was just an expression. Like, yeah, he's just Joe 6-pack.
I thought he's a bodybuilder.
No, it's meant to be a guy who drinks a 6-pack of beer and is just a schlub. The average American citizen.
Ah, I thought that was Joe Blogs.
No, that's for the UK. I've usually seen that more. The Brits going, oh, the old Joe Blogs.
My dad says Joe Soap. I know. Does your dad say that? What does your dad say?
What does my dad say? What's his stand-in? My dad says, you can't be any geek off the streets. No, he doesn't say that. What does my dad say about probably just the average Joe, I think he would say.
Yeah, the average fucking scumbag.
Yeah, exactly. Average scrote.
Have you ever heard anyone say that in real life? Scrote.
I have actually, but
very
it was
popular.
a guy from...
It's a big one on the Irish subreddit, but...
Yes. It was my friend Emmett, and he said it and it sounded great. Because I was like... But then, from seeing it on the Irish subreddit, I've now kind of gone cold on it.
Yeah.
But previously, though, I really thought it was, wow, what an evocative word. It sounds great, you know. And he was using it to describe a real piece of shit. So I was like, this is great. But now, whenever I see it deployed, it's always to be like, these scrotes hanging out on O'Connell Street, making the place look like shite. And you're just like, where are they supposed to go? They're just kids hanging out. Would you fucking calm down?
What about Joe 6 Scrote?
Joe 6 scrote. He's got 6 scrotes.
Yeah.
I presume a scrote means scrotum, yeah?
Actually, don't know. Let me look it up and then we'll get on to
the 6-pack.
Scrote.
The 6 scrote. Okay, that's good, actually.
What am I looking up?
And of course, we all know scrote is Latin for 6. No, that's just the type of jokes that you can... The japes and jibes that you can hope to expect on
you can
Celtic
hope,
Ligers.
but you will not receive.
You will never replicate, should say. You'll never be able... Imagine somebody trying to do Celtic Ligers at home because the episode is late. They're just like, I need my fix.
Yeah. How'd that go?
Yeah. We'll go a little something. Why'd you ask me this? I thought that bit was sufficient. I just to put it in people's minds and let them do it. I don't need to do it for them.
Let them do the work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
that's
would be
what
telling. That's what I should have said.
Origin of the word scrote, according to
Urban
Or
Dictionary.
Ireland.
Ugh, shut up.
I
got it. Can I say one thing though? In Or Ireland's defence, is that at least it gave us Or Cork. I believe the Cork subreddit, probably, isn't it?
Why would you
Maybe
want
it didn't.
that?
No, what I love about the Cork subreddit is that they're very locally engaged people who just have the receipts on everybody. So every time there's a small business owner who's belly aching about something happening to their business, somebody will be like, oh yeah, like, so for example, on McCurtain Street, there was a guy who was complaining that the new development of McCurtain Street was blocking off entrance to his antique shop. And then they were like, oh, is this the same guy who scammed that old woman with the diamond? It was like, yeah, it is. And it was like, this is great. But last week, or maybe it was the week before, there's a business called Zainab. What was the business called? Jamie, get that up. Zainab's our Jamie. Nash 19. So this business is a restaurant called Nash 19. And, you know, it's one of a tradition of articles now where they go, VAT is too high and I can't afford to pay, you know, the rent, and my small business has gone out of blah, 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 whatever. And like, it was so known, it seems, that Simon Coveney was even going, this is the disgrace that this small business has caused. But the Cork subreddit was just lit up with like, isn't that bitch who just treats her staff like absolute shit?
Oh, yeah.
And there's just like tons and tons of stories of her being an absolute wagon to everybody who works for her. According to the Cork subreddit, there's multiple stories of her just like screaming at staff members and then letting them go without like paying them, or like shafting them a bunch of wages, etc. And it's just nice when because small business owners get like, given the riots and stuff that happened in Dublin, the focus on small business owners and how like we need to reverse this. How do we keep our small business owners? And I was like, my sympathy is at an all-time low for you after COVID, and it's only going lower still.
Yeah.
Because you just keep belly aching, keep being catered to, and then keep fucking whinging.
Yeah.
You know?
Scrote aching.
Yeah. And also their solutions to the problem are just like, we need more boots on the street, more guards kicking in skulls and shit, you know, and for me to pay less money.
It is so bad the way the guy who runs like, I don't know, the Foot Locker on O'Connell Street, he wants like Judge Dredd to be gone around the place.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's his wet dream, is for like RoboCop to come out and just blast those scrotes away.
Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
Okay.
Well, I was thinking about it recently as well because of like who gets the mic in the wake of these events, and like you said it there, that the small business owners over racial minorities, but the other one was over the summer when that American, which Ronan brought up in our New Year's episode, thank you Ronan Carey, they were like, unbelievable, this American had his head bashed in, we need to do something about this, okay? And meanwhile there's like, you know,
removing half remembering crimes and putting in the ones he was actually trying to mention. 1. Black woman Alana Idris Quinn left permanently blind in one eye after random attack in Dublin. 2. Mongolian woman Urant Setsek Tseran Dorj murdered walking along canal in Dublin City. Finally 3. July 26, 2023 in the Irish Times, delivery riders complain of serial assaults in Dublin City, a large majority of whom are of South American background.
It's only when the stakeholders, you know, the people who go into the small businesses to give them the money, we need them back. We can't have these, you know, but like, there's no outcry of law and order breaking down when, you know, all these minority groups are being targeted within the city. But then when an American gets his head caved in, then it's like, we need to crack down.
Yeah,
Where's Helen McEntee? She needs to meet this man and personally apologize to him.
Yeah, suddenly we need to do something. So Joe Scropack, here we go. Do you want to go first or will I?
By the way, your Kickstarter sucks. The way they do it is they have a 6-pack, 6 Kickstarters, and they break it down. So we decided we would do that, but with articles that represent moments of the week.
Yeah, hilarious moments from the week. Light-hearted moments. So what's your first one?
Okay.
Because we agreed they'd be funny. So anyway, you can read your first one.
I do have some funny ones, but I feel like I don't have an article for this. It's just to set the stage of the events. But like last Saturday we were recording. Were we recording on Saturday?
I thought it was Monday.
Yeah, we were on Monday and we were like talking about Ballinrobe, and then Roscray came up because that was an ongoing situation. And then as we were recording, they tried to bring a bunch of children inside the facility. Yeah. And there's just these videos. Have you seen the video, by the way? Like, I think it basically should be plastered everywhere. It should be like, watch this. Everybody in Ireland should be forced to watch this video. Yeah. Just so that it never fucking happens again.
Oriental people. They look Chinese, actually. There's some people of African extraction, no doubt. One woman, 3 or 4 children. I don't want to.
It really undermined. Like, there was all this talk about like, you know, we're not racist. We don't want to hurt these people. We're understaffed, and I'm sure they are. You know, the area is under resourced, but then it's like kids trying to go into their accommodation just get screamed at by the local. Yeah.
Fucking, I mean, the locals. I mean, that's it. There's nothing. We don't need to say any more. Like, because there's all this kind of attempt to make it like, you know, oh, the racists were just a minority group.
Yeah.
And it's like, I actually don't really give a shit. You were like standing next to these people and you're still protesting, and and you're protesting your innocence as well. I mean, that's one of the articles that we do have to read, which is, anyway, I'm not even explaining the event. For the future's sake, here's the headline for the Irish Examiner. Roscray, man arrested after clashes between protesters and Gardaí as first asylum seekers arrive. So, and the footage of the event, maybe they have it here. No, they don't. But there's this guy, and he's just recording them. And there's like a kid of Asian descent, don't know where in Asia. But your man speculates. He starts referring to the kid as an Oriental, okay? Which is wild. Like, it's just... And he goes, it's one of those Orientals, the typical, they're coming in. And he's saying it about a child, a fucking little child that is just about up to his knee. And he's going, Orientals from China or Africa or one of them places.
Oriental people. They look Chinese, actually. Or some people of African extraction, no doubt. One woman, 3 or 4 children. I don't want to.
And that's what he literally says. He says China or Africa or one of them places. And they're screaming at this child who's coming in. And it's one of the most appalling bits of footage that you could see. And anyway, I guess if we want to, have some sort of structure on it, that the article to read, and maybe my first part of the fucking 6th scrote Joe pack is going to be, God damn you, where is this? I've lost it. Oh, here we go. From the Irish Independent. We're not racist. Local mothers bring toys and warm clothes for children in Racket Hall Asylum accommodation. Oh,
yeah, I saw
that's
that.
so good of them. That's the next day. So, like, the Irish Independent sees it within themselves to be like, yeah, what do the racists really feel about this? Anyway, will I read out some of this?
Yeah, sorry, I'm eating a bar.
Yeah, I saw you were eating. Didn't know what it was.
A bar.
A bar of what? Chocolate. Come on.
Yeah. What else?
So thank you, Conor Feehan, you fucking dumbass, for interviewing these people.
Yeah.
A group of mothers and grandmothers from Roscrea and County Tipperary brought toys and warm clothes to the asylum-seeking families who were brought... I've seen twice in this, fucking bad writing already. Maybe some AI is putting it together for him. Just to rush it out the door so he makes sure to get some thing that exonerates a bunch of racists who were brought to the Racket Hall Hotel yesterday. They collected bags of toys from their own homes. And added bags of new underwear and gloves as well.
Just how shite they knocking around the place.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever I got in the fucking attic that isn't like black with mold, just smells damp. They said they did not want to be portrayed as racist despite being racist. No, they did not want to be portrayed as racist after scuffles broke out when the families were being brought into the hotel. They were also critical of the way yesterday's operation was carried out. Quote, the families arrived with whatever clothes they had on their back, so this is our way of showing support to them right now, and we hope they get the services they need, said Ebony Doherty. No, they didn't. We have new underwear and socks and gloves and coats, blah, blah, blah. Another local resident, Geraldine Hugh, said they were against what the government was doing in relation to housing the asylum seekers in the hotel. She was critical of the Gardaí, how the Gardaí brought the children through the protest yesterday. Let's sit in that one just a little bit. So she's at the protest and she's critical of them housing the migrants. And then she's like, I'm really annoyed at how the guards brought the children through our protest.
Yeah. They should. Okay. Yeah. What is the alternative?
Yeah. They did not make it safe for kids to come in here. They bulldozed their way here and they were blaming us for it. But it was the guards and the public order unit. They pulled kids into the middle of it. Into the middle of the protest that you had to stop people entering the hotel. Okay. She had toys in the attic at home belonging to her own children. She thought they might bring some comfort to the children now housed in the hotel.
Now that they're terrified of the racists outside.
Exactly. They're in there now and we can't do anything about it. And I hope that these women and children stay as women and children and that they're not taken off somewhere else and single men are moved in, because all it is hearsay. Nobody is telling us anything, and we've seen it where they're saying that there's families coming in, but we see very little families around the place. And the families that are here have been welcomed, and we are doing our best for these kids.
They've not been welcomed.
No, they're not.
There've been protests outside. You were just in one yesterday.
You're talking about like vulnerable people, and then they're like, oh, this wasn't the right kind of vulnerable person, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I was yelling at a vulnerable person. I wanted to be yelling at that type of vulnerable person who I can speculate about his motives and all the shit that he's doing.
Yeah.
And like, there's a part of them that definitely feels like the government did this to make them look bad. You can just feel it off of these circles where it's like, there's racists out there who are going, hold the line, don't let them make you feel bad for yelling at a child. Like, these are like things that I've seen on Twitter from racists trying to be like, you know, I know, like, and it's similar to what's happening in Israel or Palestine, sorry, where you have like all these dead bodies, and then people are meant to be like, I know that you're going to feel bad, but we're at war, okay? So you can't feel bad about this. This is the same rhetoric that's being adopted and like, she seems to kind of sort of be in shock. What she's been confronted with is the reality of the shit that she believes. She is screaming at vulnerable people, and her brain is like short-circuiting to try and justify it, where she's going, no, but they're women and children, not like the men. And if the men moved in, and we hope that they stay women and children, we don't want men. And, you know, and like you've said it before, usually the crossing for these type of things are dangerous. So you send over the patriarch of the family to make the money to allow for the other people to come over. That's usually what it is, okay? But they're like, no, these are rapists who have been recruited by Great Replacement Theory liberals. And what are they doing here? Why have they torn up their passports? Who are they? They're military-aged men. They should be back fighting some war and dying for that, okay? They shouldn't be here in my town looking different and making me feel afraid. But also, I got news for this lady. Those kids as well, they're going to grow up and they'll eventually become single military-aged men. And then where will you be? You'll probably be just as terrified, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, they just feel very, like, watched, you know what I mean? They realise how bad the whole thing looks, and now they're just trying to be like, no, we like these ones.
Yeah. But it's the same as your one did in Ballinrobe, where she called off the demonstration and said to bring toys and whatever, it's up to them. And it's like toys, it's like, I don't know, like, one of the other things that they had was they keep bringing up, like, oh, the hotel was like the social center of the town. They, you know, in various forms, they don't say exactly social center, but you will hear social and center a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like, a private business is not a social center. It is a fucking hotel. Okay. So these racist babies have like just kind of gone like, no, we want our social center back, aka our hotel. We don't want to demand anything better for ourselves. We just want the shitty place that has the overpriced tea and coffee that we can go in and sit down and that we have to pay admission to. Not like a social center where you don't have to pay admission to a social center. You could just go in and sit down, okay? Like a public fucking service. They're like, no, we want the business back that we can give our money to sit in there and eat our cakes and our tea or whatever. You know? Now, I don't know how much they used it before. We only have their word to take for that. But then going like, oh, we'll buy you another hotel, the more dilapidated, empty hotel, and we'll turn that into a social center for you, or like
what was it, a co-op hotel or something like that, a community hotel.
Why can't you have a community center? What is the like? What? I just don't get it. You know, like, can I say an anecdote here really quickly, which is that I was teaching animation in Athlone, and with my good friend, maybe he doesn't want to be fucking Porrick Fagan, and so Porrick, working for Matchbox Mountain. If you ever need, if you ever need animation, contact me. What am I talking about? I'm a small business owner. I got to look out for May Fain. All right, so this Ukrainian woman came in, and basically she'd previously been an architect in Ukraine. Now she's living here, and she kind of is trying to find work, and she's trying to get involved in the arts, and she's trying to get involved in the community. So she comes in and she just asks Porrick, like, so where's the community come? Like, where do they go?
Yeah.
And Porrick's like, what do you mean? And then she's like, you know, like a center, like they'll have like a stage maybe for theater productions. They'll have like a little cafe, like a community cafe, or they'll have like these things where like the community is able to come and just congregate. And then he's like, had to tell like, no, we don't have that, you know? We don't do that here. That doesn't happen, you know?
I know. And like, I think people get most angry when they feel like there's not enough to go around. You know, like they feel like this town is shit and there's no fucking anything, and the only thing we have to do is this shitty hotel that we spend on it. Like, they're defending the hotel because like there's fuck all else.
Yeah.
And I think,
but also, I just don't know if that's enough excuse. Well, no, you're not excusing it, but it's not enough excuse for having no imagination or being so stunted that the only thing you can see is the fucking hotel. You know, like they keep asking, we need more resources, we need stuff here, and then oh, what resources? We need the hotel. Fuck, man, can you just think of something? Do you know, like it's just they're so fucking boring. And then they're so boring that, like, when this happens here, where it's like, oh, we're yelling at children. Oh, what child, toy. Here's a toy. You know? Rather than, like, maybe I shouldn't do my racist demonstration anymore. Maybe I should think about my part in this. And maybe I should think about, like, I don't know. Just, it's some different response besides, like, the one that I'm doing.
Oh, I might have been slightly wrong this time. But
here's a toy.
Next time I'll be right. When it's military age man or whatever. It's a like you'd wonder as well who the people getting interviewed are. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, are they the equivalent of the people, the Foot Locker owner? You know what I mean? The government response is interesting because
there's been one.
But it's also clearly not going to happen either. Like, the response has been, don't worry, we'll get you more supports, we'll get you more guards, of which there are none. And
even if there were, like, you know.
Just, but I mean, there aren't. And then they're like, we'll get you more GPs and nurses and stuff, of which there are none. Like, we have shortages in both of those areas. You know what I mean?
Well, that was another article that was like put out by RTE.
Saying they're gonna what do they say?
Education sources reject claims that Roscrea schools are full, because that's some of the things that they've been saying is that the schools are full. So earlier this week, this is in the article by Emma O'Kelly. Earlier this week, independent TD Maddie McGrath told a public gathering in the town that it's, quote, schools are full. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, here's one problem I do have with the article. It says, but education sources in Roscrea have contradicted this. And they only ever use the term education sources. They don't say teachers. They don't specify who. So, you know, you're talking about a state broadcaster putting out stuff. But I have no, like, trouble believing that this is the case, where, like, people feel that these are problems when they're actually, like, not problems. Because, like, when you look at rural Ireland, and also I've taught in schools out in, like, rural Ireland as well, doing the animation workshops. It's like, the schools are far from full, you know? You there's no kids out there, you know? So the idea of, like...
But it does depend where you go. Like, there are some ginormous schools around the country. Like, sure, it's the biggest school in Ireland in Donegal.
Okay.
But I think my point is, like, I suppose the government saying, actually, these, you know, the schools aren't full or whatever. The government has just been like, don't worry, we're going to give you extra whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
But they're clearly not going to do that because it's that sort of thing of like, the whole country has a shortage of things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So how is the government going to magic up extra nurses or extra GPs or extra whatever, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So
like, it's not happening.
It's not happening. So it's...
But me personally, I would also wonder if it's happening at all, especially in some of these very small towns. Like, I just don't know if the numbers would prove that out, do you know?
Like the school's been full. Yeah.
Well, I mean, using this as an example and just saying, like, if this is true, and I could believe that it was true, what does that mean for, like, GPs and all this other stuff?
Say, like, in, I don't know, like Sligo's a hospital. And then there's, like, hotels that have been put to, you know, there's, like, been put aside for migrants. The government don't go, right, well, that's an extra 1,000 people, so we better make sure there's extra doctors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They just go, they don't do that.
Yeah.
And like, all over the country, hospitals are, like, the policy of the government is to, like, run hospitals at maximum capacity because they think that makes them more efficient, you know?
Yeah.
So, but then when there are more people, they don't open, is my point.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happens. You feel like that there is...
Well, this is what happens. You just get people like screaming at children trying to go into emergency accommodation.
I guess that's the result, but then I'm also thinking about, like, is there just fucking any way that these things could be solved or addressed, or that people could, you know, rally around a cause that wasn't just hate-fueled and miserable and miserly and, you know, kind of like, you're not getting any of the nothing that I have, you know? It's just like, these people are fucked as well. Is there no solidarity? Of course there's not any solidarity because they don't look like me. They're not me. You know?
There is definitely some sort of a way, but I mean, the issue as well is that, like, the media are just happy to throw migrants under the bus. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's no coincidence that when the tide started turning on migrants, so much of the media started being like, oh, well, we do have to have this conversation about should migrants be allowed, and maybe we should, like, ramp up deportation, all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they weren't going, oh, I know it's bad, but these people have it worse, and, you know, we owe them. Like,
they are very much like how, like, the conversation that we're having now is about the resources that can be given to these people.
Yeah, it's
really like, this sucks. Like, we wanted to have this conversation for fucking ever, and now you've decided to have it after they've had a racist tantrum. You know?
Yeah.
After they screamed at a kid. Like, I said this online, but I was like, oh, they got all this for just screaming at a kid. Well, what you know, like, let's ramp this shit. Like, racism gets the goods, man, it turns out. You would be listened to if you were a big fucking racist. And we need your fucking vote.
All right. Dropping in to make some more points. If I sound low energy and stuffed up, it's because I've got a fucking cold and I also had a root canal today. I just wanted to put a finer point on these little things. One is I hate the infantilizing of rural Ireland. Either one, they are knuckle draggers who won't vote for repeal, which is not true. Or they're poor, stupid babies who will get, tricked into being racist by the far right. Both of those approaches to thinking about rural Ireland robs them of their agency. And a lot of the times they're basically personalities that exist all over Ireland. They're not representative of rural Ireland, just as, you know, somebody from Tala isn't representative of somebody who's in the south side, you know, on the south side of Dublin. Like, obviously people are different, but it's just the way that rural people get treated as this monolith that bothers me. One article that we didn't mention was they were like, bishops in the area condemn this stuff, and I was like, it's so embarrassing. It's embarrassing that they did it, because it seems like scolding them like they're children, and it would be even more embarrassing if it actually was effective. But like, these people who were at that demonstration are begging to be treated like little babies. And a lot of them, if, you know, any of the follow-up reporting where they talk to people, a lot of them are just like small business tyrants, publicans, landlords. they're not necessarily affected people. They bring up all the broken systems to justify their racism and hatred. But when they get particularly excited, it's always talking about this shitty hotel. And it's like, yeah, I remember what I was going to say. It's they should be treated like the homeowners association pedants that they are. When they say, which is almost a direct quote from a fucking Fianna Fáiler in Galway. Oh, they'd be, you wouldn't know who they are, and they'd be coming in and we'd be afraid we wouldn't know who they are. The single military age men. Can we talk about this? Can we talk about them coming in? And I'd be afraid of them and whatever. It's akin to somebody going, I don't want windmills near my house because they're noisy and they'll ruin my view. It's like, I am a stakeholder. I have a stake. I have put down money on something and I don't like that in my eye line and I want that gone. Which is why they never really present any constructive solutions. To quote a tweet from our beloved, the man in the black pajamas, not to blame the people of Roscray, but if your priority was community investment, anti-austerity, etc., you wouldn't have voted the way they have for the past 15 years. Case in point, fucking Michael Lowry. So yeah, that was one point. And to further expound on that, I was going to make it a second point, but I think it's part of the same one, which is the small-minded nature of the small business tyrant, or the petty bourgeois, the petty bourgeois. They go and scream in a kid's face, and then they think that the cheap little token of a sun-bleached Happy Meal toy from the 1990s would be sufficient. And then they want their hotel back so they can spend their tokens on shitty cups of tea to hang out with their shitty friends. And it's like your horizons are so low. Your little transactional minds are the same as the stupid politicians that you say that you hate. Because, looking back on COVID in 2021, when a bunch of people standing on one side of a canvas barrier on South William Street were beaten with batons by the guards for having some cans, and meanwhile people sculling pints on the opposite side of the canvas barrier were perfectly within their rights. All of these people think you should have to pay something to live. At all, to live, to meet up with your friends, to exist. And they don't want to change that. They just want that back, thank you very much. I want it back before the crash, where I could get a breakfast roll and go around in an Opel Astra and go on, 2 ski holidays a year. That wasn't everybody, by the way. That was just these people who are now apparently made racist because the government put migrants next to them. The theory I put forward is that they are already racist and they don't like the little bit that they have being even slightly affected, because they're good, honest, working citizens who bought a house and did the right thing, and they shouldn't be punished by having to see some brown guy living in a hotel. And to that end, rounding off on another man in the black pajamas tweet, reminder, during the awful staycation era, it was a common talking point how bad and overpriced Irish hotels were. Now, all of a sudden, they are community assets, which must be protected. So what was my whole point about bringing this up? Rural Ireland are not babies. They can be varied. They can be as racist and entitled as all of the commentators in the weekly papers. All of the columnists in the Sunday papers, and also it's this pathetic transactional mind that is actually creating more damage in Ireland than the alleged colonization by these people coming in. Please fucking colonize me, honestly, if this is all that these people are offering.
Definitely.
And it's so dark. And like the other thing that happened as well is that Matty McGrath, for last week's episode, we read out some of the stuff that he said, where he said, what was the thing that he said? Oh yeah, he said Ireland was being colonized. Okay.
Yeah.
And he appeared on so then same day, they scream at those children. And so Virgin Media tonight is one of their main current affairs shows. They get on a host of panelists, and then Claire Brock and some other lady talk about whatever's happened in the day.
Yeah.
And so who do they invite on as a racism expert? But Matty McGrath, because obviously he is a racist, so he would know.
Yeah.
So he's answering questions, and they got Paul Murphy there, thank fucking God. So Paul Murphy goes, yeah, well, Matty McGrath was just openly being a racist and using far right talk. And she cuts across him to go, you can't accuse him of that now. You can't accuse him of that. And it was he said it. He said we're being colonized. He talked about the World Economic Forum. It was what is happening? And these people are so ill-equipped to follow what's going on as well. Let me just finish my point then, and with my third and final story. Okay.
Screwed. Yeah.
Which is kind of a bit of a two-hander. Which
Two
I
hands
need.
on the scrote.
Which I need, obviously, when I'm
massaging the
doing the thing that makes God cry. I don't know.
Yeah.
I need two hands to hold my massive dong, is what I'm saying. My big old prick.
And make it cry.
Like Jesus. Or God, or whatever I said. So the other person who was on on a normal one, on a freaking one, was whatchamajigger.
So you had Paul Murphy, far left, Matty McGrath, far right. Sorry,
I got lost in my my thing, and then obviously we did sensible centrist. So let's get on Mick Clifford, okay?
I want to put out a bounty on Mick Clifford's fat head. So if you shoot him, and I'm serious about this, I'll give you €25.
Okay, yeah, I'll do it for less.
Mick Clifford, I said to him, would you fuck this pig for €25? And he said, give me a while to raise the funds. But someone should make a mod where you shoot
Matthew Clifford. No, it's Mick Clifford. Big Mick. Big
Mick
prick Clifford. No, wait, sorry. He's not a big... He is a big prick. He doesn't have a big prick. I want that on the record. His nickname is Big Prick.
He's a nice big prick. 6.5 inches.
I love that Mick is judoing the insult around on me. Oh, I've got a big prick. No! Yeah. I was saying you were a big prick. Just a loser in my own anecdote. But anyway, here's him on Virgin Media. Have you got that thing open? Are you listening? Can you hear it?
When Mick goes on it, it's...
what is the opposite of a virgin?
What's the opposite of a virgin? Well, they just call it Mick Clifford Radio Media.
Yeah.
Because he's the opposite of a virgin. He's the opposite of a virgin.
What is the opposite of a virgin exactly?
A stud.
Yeah, all right. So stud media tonight when we have...
It's getting a small bit out of hand when you have a scenario whereby elected representatives are putting forward that kind of thing, as if, for example, we were being overrun or something. That is not... There are problems. There are pressures. There's no question about it. There were pressures
there
before.
There are genuine grievances
there are
in rural communities.
There are genuine pressures, but they're also being combined with grievances and with groundless fears. And when you put the whole thing together, you have that mix. And then for public representatives to pander to that rather than to address it, that's what's occurring here.
So that's Mick talking about the far right. So now let me just flash back to the fucking halcyon days of August 2022. Mick Clifford, does Ireland have a problem with far-right extremism? Ireland is not immune to racism or bigotry, but the GPAHE report is inflating niche groups well above their true stature. Who exactly determines whether this country has a problem with right-wing extremism? Last weekend, we got a chilling warning about the rise of hate and intolerance. Quote, growth of far-right in Ireland set to continue, according to US monitoring group, blazed the headline in the Irish Times. Thank you. The accompanying story began, there is a disturbing trend in Ireland similar to the US and other parts of the world whereby white nationalist, anti-LGBTQ+, anti-immigrant and anti-lockdown groups seem to be coming together and echoing each other's hateful rhetoric, the Global Project Against Hate and Extremism has said. The press release from GPAHE included the warning, unfortunately, we expect the far right in Ireland to continue to grow. The report comes from the organisation with apparently impressive credentials. The Global Project Against Hate and Extremism was founded by two, blah, 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 I'm just going to skip ahead. So what did the report actually say beyond the headlines? Alarmingly, for a project designed to highlight disinformation, it's full of disinformation. So he goes on, and the main thrust of the article is actually the idea of Ireland have an ascendant far right is exaggerated for clickbait headlines, essentially.
2 paragraphs from the same article which got overlooked but are worth mentioning. The strain of political populism that feeds off hate agendas has not surfaced here, as it has in countries like the USA and others. There is practically no political purchase in promoting extremism in this jurisdiction. Irish society is not immune to racism or bigotry, but compassion remains a bedrock value, as evidenced by recent referenda, a form of solidarity during the pandemic, and the welcome for Ukrainians fleeing war.
And then he even, I don't know whether he does it here, but he definitely did it on Twitter. He frequently conflates the far right and the far left, as in they are the same as each other.
From Up Front with Katie Hannon, 25th of September 2023.
Yeah, I mean, like, polarisation is a huge part of it. In fairness to Paul, I'm not saying that the far left is like the far right, is exactly the same as the far right. There are similarities in the way they go about their business, the likes of conspiracy theories, polarisation, misinformation, all of that sort of thing goes on.
It's just been such a fuck you that they now start to invite him on to talk about the far right, which he has been on the record saying does not exist. Yeah. You know, like, and now it's like once there's irrefutable evidence of this, it was like, okay, now we have expert Mick Clifford on. It's like, don't have, like, how can you have him on and not bring this up or not address it? Or he just gets to say this and it's like, it's all just like clocking on with your punch cards day in, day out. I'm a columnist. I have to have opinions. Who cares if my opinions are consistent from one year to the next? It's like, you should be in the fucking wilderness, man, because groups were telling you forever that this was an issue. And you were just like, no, it's not. And we're mocking them on Twitter, like openly mocking them. And yeah, anyway, that was what I want to bring up, where it's like, you know, what's the main, do I have to have some sort of arc to these 3 articles? It's basically like, you know, we have the shit that happens in Roscray, that's awful. And then we have the political response to it, which is, what can we do for you today to get your vote, you big fucking racist cunts? And then the final thing is the media going, like, just being so ill-equipped to deal with it, for like her to go, oh, you can't call Maddie McGrath racist and say that he was using genocidal rhetoric when it's on tape. And then let's turn over to Mick Clifford and get his 2 cents on the thing that he said didn't exist a year ago. Now 2 years ago. Well, almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
So it's just like, how do we even get out of this situation? I don't know, because everybody who's involved with responding to it and in any level is a fucking lunatic, okay? Who is just an idiot.
Why do you think they like Mick Clifford so much? Is it just is it like, oh, he's always talking about this, we should just have him on to talk about it even
I honestly
more.
think it's because he's like a kind of uncouth country oaf that they think that he offers a bit of like texture. Like they can't just have it be a bunch of people in Dublin talking about this stuff. And they seem to think like Mick's a kind of guy who tells it like it is. I don't agree with everything he says, but... And he'll offer that little bit of kind of flavour to your panel show. Because that's the only reason I can fucking think of. Because it certainly isn't for his insight, you know? Like... Latest article by him, by the way, is hold on. Just want to get the headline. Unity needed to beat far right. That is the headline of his latest article, as of written. That was written 3rd of December 2023. So now the far right exists.
Here's another one. Why Ireland has no beef with China over human rights.
Is that beef meant to be like a pun? Like he's going to be talking about cattle or something?
The human rights of some, it appears, are far more important than those of others. For one reason or other. Mostly to do with the values and interests of those who claim to give a fig.
Oh man, not that uncouth, clearly.
Yeah. I don't know what he's trying to talk. This is the most annoying thing about Irish journalism, is that like so much of it is incoherent. You know,
I know.
You're trying to get a sense of what does Mick Clifford believe, and it's like, he's like, the Irish Premier does not give a fig about beef.
Like,
what are you talking about?
I know. Like, I honestly thought that I was stupid because I'd be reading this stuff and I'd be like, what are you saying? Because it's not just him. It's obviously like Pat Leahy. It's literally anybody.
Yeah.
It's like, you're like,
Bernard,
okay.
What's his name? Your man that I hate.
Matt Cooper, Philip Ryan, Brendan O'Connor. Yeah. You like crack open the newspaper and you kind of have it in your head. I was like, okay. Like, it's like Marvel Comics at this stage where it's like, I'm opening up issue 353 and they've given up explaining all of the characters or what's happening, and I just have to try and like do my best to understand what's going on. But then you have to compete with another fucking element, which is the impenetrability of the prose of Irish writers, you know?
Yeah.
Like with Mick Clifford, it's clearly like just trying to be a little clever and a little cheeky. But it's like, what are you talking about? You know, like whether it's turn of phrase or subject matter, it's just beyond. It's in a parallel world to the one that I exist in, so I can't ever understand what the fuck he's saying.
I always thought that if Joyce, Keats and Lawrence were sitting in a room together and Dostoevsky walked in, there'd be a hell of a fight for the last piece of pudding.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then whenever you do understand what he's saying, you think like, how the fuck could he believe this or think this? You know?
Yeah.
How do you sleep at night, honestly? How did you sleep at night when you go, the far right don't exist, to I am now an expert on the far right? Like, how would you be able to live with yourself? No, like, I don't know what the fuck.
I think part of the quality of being a good journalist, or not, being a successful journalist, is like never being afraid to like be the lead voice on something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I tell you, I read that book, Asylum, but it was written by this guy. Weird. It's funny, if you look up the book online, it just goes, author, Kelly. Who wrote it? I guess Kelly wrote it. It's a book about the history of Grangecorman. Mental Asylum, you know, by a guy, Brendan Kelly. And I think it's part of a whole thing where, you know, the way DIT have all conglomerated into a new university called TUD.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And they have a campus in Grangecorman, and they're trying to like get a bit of like a myth going, you know, like where are the. So they're publishing loads of stuff about the mental asylum. And then I guess they probably paid some guy. If I had to guess, they probably paid him the quality of the book, about €25 to write.
That's the going
history.
rate for a hit on Mick Clifford, and also writing a book on Grange Gorman.
Because he's like, okay, you want a book about Grange Gorman? Okay, I can do that. And the whole book is just like, in 1850, this guy went in and he was crazy and he did this crazy thing, and then they locked him up, and then this woman went in and she was mad, and then another guy went in and he was really mad, and then it just goes on, and then the book just ends at a random point. It's just like, basically the only reason it ends is because, I guess, you're not allowed to look at records after a certain date,
Yeah.
And that's the whole book. And like, there's a bit where he's like, weirdly in Ireland, there's the church didn't get involved in mental health, and there's a huge, incredibly high rate of incarceration in mental asylums in Ireland, which is mad. And then he just goes on, he just moves on. And there's like there's no bit where he's like, I wonder why that is.
Yeah.
And but like, he has no problem writing a book. He's like, I don't know anything about this, I don't really want to know anything about this, but I'll write the book about it,
God, I wish I wish I had some element of that in me, honest to God. Like,
and that's just why, if you're a journalist in Ireland, that is the personality that succeeds. It's the guy who's like, far right, that doesn't exist. And then someone rings you up and goes, do you want to talk about why the far right exists in Ireland? I would love to do that.
€25, you say? I'll be there.
Yeah.
I've never, like, even when you're reading like British journalism, there's a kind of passion or an anger sometimes, or like by the bigots and the racists, okay, and there's an agenda, or there's a curiosity, or there's something. But like, for majority of Irish journalism, there's just this kind of like, nobody seems to know what they're doing. Everyone seems to think like, if I have to do it because we need a newspaper, obviously. And then that's how all the articles are just written. It's just like, well, this happened, and this guy said that this happened, and then that's that. And then when the opinions happen, it's like Pat Leahy going, well, here's the kind of presumed wisdom. Here's another opinion. But who's to say who's right or wrong? And then it's over.
Like in England, the opinion pieces they'll be like, I talked to 5 people about why you should be scared of trans people in women's toilets. You know what I mean? It'd be like, I saw a show or I read a book. It is not, obviously it's nonsense. But like, in Ireland, they wouldn't even do that. The bit where, like, in England, the bigots will at least talk to other bigots. Like, do some research into like bullshit, pseudoscience, whatever. Whereas like in Ireland, it's literally just like, I was taking a shit and I was thinking about like, what would happen if all the black people in Ireland killed all the white people? And like, that scared me to my core,
Well, it's just, or else it's just like word soup that doesn't mean anything. And then there's also I know that, like, let's say, you want to get involved with, you want to figure out what's happening in Israel, Palestine now. It's not the newspaper's job to go, okay, well, here's the situation. There are these, blah, blah, blah. Like, I know that's not the case, but then there's other times where there's just such a presumed level of knowledge that nobody could be possibly expected to have. And it's like, it'll be like, and of course, as we all remember, when Michael Noonan did this back in 2000, I was like, what are you talking about? I don't know what that means,
Or they'll reference like some incredibly obscure think tank as if it's like the leading authority. And it's really just because they got a press release from that. Think tank. You know what I mean?
Like, they just... do
you know that? Do you know that Richard Chambers and the other fella,
Gavin Riley,
the nerd, and someone else have a podcast.
Yeah, it's called The Group Chat. It's not only a podcast, they film it and they put it out on fucking TV. You can watch it.
I never heard of it. Who's the other one?
Zara King is one of the people on it. So it's Richard Chambers,
Zara...
Gavin Riley, and Zara King.
I've never heard of Zara King.
Neither have I.
What does she do?
Oh, she's just one of the Virgin Media people. One of the Virgin Media virgins.
Yeah.
Yeah. God's ass. Got him. Although Richard Chambers, far from a virgin. Oof, moron, you know. No, they're all three of them are virgins. They're all fucking nerds.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's not an insult to call a woman a virgin.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Call her a slut. Richard, do you think Richard Chambers managed to convert his clout into sneeze?
We're talking about crypto.
What?
We're talking about crypto. You know, he's got a bunch of. Now you need a bunch of clout to turn your juice into sniz.
Yeah, wasn't there something with the board? You remember Bored Apes?
Yeah.
Was there something? Did I make this up? Was there something about like he got a slime?
There was slurp juice. I think it was called.
Was that real?
Yeah, it was, but I never bothered to check about what that actually meant or what they were talking about. I thought you were going to be one of the other things that we should have mentioned on the New Year special was when they held a crypto event and then they accidentally used the wrong type of strobe lights and ended up giving themselves a bunch of burns and partially blinding themselves.
That was so funny. It's mad how like NFTs just completely failed.
Yeah, but the way that they were so big for, like, they were massive
like
for a little bit.
It's not, like it's not. I was not mad that they failed, but it was mad that they were so big and now they're just like people have just lost so much fucking money on a drawing of a monkey.
Oh, did I? Yeah, you were there for that. Sorry, but I did like I had an animation festival, and so the thing would be to take the piss out of something that was happening in art, or like when kind of business and art overlap. So NFTs were an obvious one. So I did like a piss take of Bored Apes, but apparently it was so convincing anyway that like on the night of the festival, some guy showed up to actually buy some NFTs.
Really?
And he had a big fucking Audi, and his girlfriend was there as well, and they were like, so what happened is I had on the poster.
That's so funny because like that guy, how does that guy even out? Like,
I don't know.
Like, I know that if I want to buy a Bitcoin, I don't go to the bank. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't go to the ATM. And he's like, I'm going to go to Dorset Street to buy an NFT.
Yeah.
It's like, you are like so stupid.
That was another, because I was like under the presumption, because I thought like, oh yeah, well obviously NFTs are really stupid. So that's where I was working from. So it took me a minute to realize that he thought that they weren't stupid. So it was this very challenging conversation. But one of the things that tipped him off, so he goes, so it's a festival and the tickets cost €5 unwaged, €10 waged. Okay. And he was like, what does that mean? And I said, just if you don't have a job, that it's like less. And then he goes, I've got a job. He got really defensive immediately.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. And so he's like, but what is it? What are you buying? I was like, well, it's a film festival. What about the NFTs? I was like, there's no NFTs. They're stupid. And he's like kind of, all right. And then I was like, well, you can come in and watch the films if you want. And then he turned to his girlfriend, and then she like, what I'm saying now for the purposes of the podcast is she put her hand in a motion of like cut that off, like where you put it around your neck, you know, that kind of. Am I explaining? Huh?
She choked?
No, like herself. She was going to herself. She took her hand.
She was choking herself.
What you do is you flatten your hand, put it up to your neck, and then just put it across like you're cutting your own neck. Okay, so she did that, and she went, not feeling it. And then they just walked away. But she said this in front of me. It was like, oh, do you want to come in and watch it? Not feeling it. Left.
Yeah.
Just bizarre thing. Shut it down. Shut it down.
Yeah.
Anyway. But it was.
It's funny to like the hand movement makes it seem like she's trying to be subtle, and and then no, I do not want to see the film.
Yeah.
But also, we're also winking at him or like sapping on his foot or something.
Yeah. What was it? Slurp juice. We were talking about. Oh yeah, had he turned his slurp juice into sneeze? And so
it is funny. How you get those whiplash moments where you realise there are. I remember once I was at a dinner party, and I know you're not supposed to talk about politics, but I was talking about if someone should shoot Eamon Ryan.
Yeah,
in the
he
head.
loves saying. You love saying to shoot people. We love that about you. That's how James lost to one of his Twitter account because he said he wanted to shoot Joe Biden in the head.
No, I didn't. I was playing an elaborate prank on the host of Chapel Trap House.
Yeah.
But and then someone was like, I don't think that should happen at all.
Yeah.
And then the whole room turned on me.
Yeah.
Simply for saying Eamon Ryan should be murdered.
But I mean, like, what? Which room? Which type of like dinner party was this? Who were the people at it? That not names? No, like what type of was it? Like a dinner
I think
party?
She worked for like the EU in some capacity.
Okay, right, yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But I do believe it because he is the head of the Green Party.
Yeah.
And he's being extreme. He's blocking any chance of green revolution.
Yeah.
So, and he was not going to leave his own will. So,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But no one's going to do it. People are too cowardly to do it.
Yeah. But not too cowardly to say it. That's the type of thing you can expect on Celtic Ligers podcast.
I say what everyone's too afraid to do.
Just while you were talking about like punitive green measures, I just wanted to bring this up because it happened today. But a €15 monthly levy on broadband bills to replace TV license.
End of part 1. Head to patreon.com/Celtic Ligers to access the second half. For €0.05 a month you get an extra hour a week along with access to the back catalogue. Thank you.